Oh, and we will lose our quorum. So keep that in mind, everybody, 10 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Was the meeting properly posted? All right, thank you. And we have a 17-point agenda. Motion by Cosgrove, second by Severson. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Item number 4, read and approve minutes from the June 11, 2021 LEJC meeting. Has everyone looked those over? Would someone like to make the motion to approve those? Motion by Severson, second by Cosgrove. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Item number 5, corner updates.
There.
Do not have a corner update today.
Okay.
Do you have one?
I don't have it, but I do have the corner, their issues, law enforcement, corner law enforcement, my office statutorily, my office has to be advised, as soon as possible after there's, after a death is found for.
You might have to get closer to the mic.
It's not.
It's not on? No.
There are statutory requirements
Yeah,
as
yeah,
to,
close.
there are statutory requirements regarding providing information to the DA's office, and it had been sort of wonky. Previously, I was getting some of the information, but not all of the information for a variety of reasons, and mostly it was because everyone thought someone else was doing it. And so I worked with Clay, worked with the coroner, worked with Billy, and we got a policy, which I think once upon a time was in place, and we just sort of reinstituted it. We tweaked it, and in the last, since we met last, I'm getting all the information that I need timely now from multiple people, right? More information is better than less. So that has turned out to work real well.
Actually, Jim did email me bright and early this morning. Coroner's office has been operating for several months with one fewer deputy coroner, as one of our staff has had to take an extended leave due to family health issues. The remaining staff has stepped up to fill this gap. I hope that we will be at full capacity again very soon. If not, there may be a need to find another person to fill this vacancy in the near future. Regarding calls, most notable was a recent call of a death from a suspected heroin overdose. These calls are always very concerning, as history has shown that when there is one, there are often more to follow. I continue to be very grateful for the partnership and support of all the other agencies we work with. Respectfully submitted, Jim Rosing.
All right, that brings us to item number 6, clerk of court updates, which she is not here today, but she did send us her report. So we'll just accept her report as written. Item number 7, probate department.
I don't have anything too much new. My budget still looks good, but it always does this time of year again. A lot of the bills come in at the very end of the year. So we're just transitioning from being primarily in Zoom to being kind of a mix of Zoom and in person. So there's going through some transition with that, but really there's not too much new to report.
That's good, right? All right, so that brings us to number 8, district attorney update.
I just note that I'm not the driver in using up committee time. So I never get the highest percentage of that. In any event, 3 things I just want to touch on. I hope everyone can hear me. First is treatment court. There was an open meeting last night regarding the budget out of Health and Human Services, and we had appearance by our treatment court provider. I appeared, the judge appeared. I noted it was after hours, and the judge and I hate meetings. So that's how important it was that we ended up showing up at this meeting. It was important enough to all of us. We have we have a treatment program right now. It involves the public defender, my office, my victim witness coordinator, a representative from the police department, a representative from the sheriff's department, 2 mental health providers, the judge, the coordinator. And I'm certain I'm leaving someone out, but 10 is a good round number. And essentially what happens is we have individuals who have, who we identify as having significant alcohol problems and have such serious cases that this is pretty much the last step before prison. And we have a couple, it's the last step. I mean, there's nothing else that we can provide in the criminal justice system before someone goes to prison. And we've actually had people in our program who have been to prison, and it's all public record. So for instance, Anthony Andrada, been to prison, has a significant alcohol problem. But he met the criteria. Oh, probation and parole is the other individual that we have. And they do all kinds of assessments, right? Because we have to figure out if they're appropriate for this program, right? If the driving problem is they're schizophrenic, we can't get them on their meds, that is outside the resources that the treatment court can really provide. So what happens is when someone has one of these cases, Anthony, for instance, Andrada, who otherwise is a lovely guy, right? No one hates, I mean, so he works for the program. No one hates Anthony. He gets along with everyone when he's sober. He's in the program, and we're working on his alcohol needs, right? Probation, as well as his treatment providers, are doing the things that they need to do. The judge is sanctioning people when necessary, increasing treatment doses when necessary. So this group, we meet together every 2 weeks, 9 o'clock in the morning, and we have a packet, and it has notes from treatment provider, from coordinator, and from P&P. And it says, here's how it's gone. Someone's on the bracelet, and we can tell, because it's real time, that they drank for 48 hours straight. And then the judge says, yeah, I know, that's why he's already in jail, right? It's because we had that information. Or someone didn't call in for tests. Or someone missed IOP, which is it's an outpatient alcohol program that we do at Pine Counseling. And Pine sometimes comes as well. It works really well. There are treatment courts across the country. It is it's a standardized model at this point. Most counties in Wisconsin has a treatment court. It has been tested. It has been shown to be successful. For the most part, ours has been successful. There's only been a couple of people that we booted out, and quite frankly, they shouldn't have been in the first place, like Trent Hansen. His issue is meth. It's not alcohol. Alcohol treatment for him really is not useful. So for the most part, we've been very successful with it. We're now 5 years in, and it is time for us to re-up our requests for finances from the state. And generally how the finances work, and I'm not from Health and Human Services, and this program is, as far as the budget, is run through Health and Human Services. The coordinator goes through Health and Human Services. I'll go back after this 9 o'clock meeting. Then everyone gets to come to treatment court, and we get to see, hey, you've done really well this week. What does sobriety mean to you? Or whatever we talk to you about, and people are in different phases. And then we say, hey, you had a hot piss test for THC. Let's talk about what that looks like. So the offenders are all held accountable in that respect in court with the judge. Health and Human Services deals with the funding. And the funding is generally, as always with the state, it's some kind of partnership, right? So there are grants that come from the state, grants that we can get and have gotten from outside entities. And then the county has to pony up some money. But part of that money is through matching grants, which is part of the reason the number of people in our treatment court is so big, right? Because we can say, hey, it's 2 weeks from the sheriff's department, it's 2 weeks from victim witness, it's 2 weeks from all of these people. So we get a lot of money through matching grants rather than just having to provide money just out of the budget from Richland County. So we have to re-up this year. And one of the things that we've been looking at is under the umbrella of treatment court, it's called treatment court, but mostly we've had alcohol, is to expand the aspect that has to do with drugs. I've been clamoring for it. I've told the judge this. Everyone knows this. Over 5 years, the crimes involving alcohol compared to the crimes involving drugs, it's about a 60-40 split over 5 years. That is not, if I ran the numbers, which I didn't do yesterday, it's not a static number. Once upon a time, it might have been 80-20 alcohol, drugs, and now the meth is through the roof. I mean, we don't have any OWIs where people are drinking beers. I mean, everyone's on meth. I have suppression hearings all the time on meth. Then they have meth on them. The drugs have changed. About 8 years ago, it was heroin, but now we're into meth. And that's a whole group of people that we're not capturing in treatment court, that we're not capturing in a program which is utilized across the country and in Wisconsin and is shown to be effective. And we're one of the counties here, one of the few counties here in Wisconsin that doesn't deal with the drug AODA issues. I know there are some questions earlier as to why are we going to have umbrella of treatment court, but why are we going to do alcohol and sort of in this silo, and why are we going to do drug issues in another silo? That's because folks who have, and this has been advised to us by the treatment providers, and is consistent with everyone in the system's knowledge, and I'm sure it's probably just known, people who have alcohol problems have a whole lot of corollary problems. Their cognitive distortion is different than folks who are on meth or heroin. Just the needs are different. The cognitive distortion is different. The treatment is different, and all those kind of things. So it's well known you can't put all these people together in, say, a group setting, because they just don't mix as far as their needs. So we're looking at the umbrella funding for that. I know that funding, the grant has already been, next week is going to be submitted, I think, to the state. I know Miranda said that she was working on that already. So we talked at the open meeting last night for the Health and Human Services budget, just to sort of get the ball rolling publicly. But we've been working on this for a long time, and we're just not providing services and not capturing the greatest number of people who need help, is the bottom line. And this program has been proved to work both statistically across the nation, across the state, and in our own experience. So that's just a plug for treatment court.
Back that up. So most counties do, such as La Crosse County, they do 2 separate treatment courts. They do an OWI treatment court, and then they do a drug treatment court to it. So again, it's 2 separate times that are set aside to address both issues. Not that somebody couldn't be involved in both, but it is set up as 2 separate treatment courts.
And that's true. Right now, what happens is for treatment court, we have treatment court every other week. And so what they do in other counties like Grant County is the weeks that they're not doing the alcohol court, they're doing the drug treatment court, right? So every Wednesday morning would be utilized for all of the people who are involved. It's going to be used every week on Wednesday mornings rather than every other week. So that's certainly true. And the group counseling, you have to go to group counseling. The group counseling for the individuals who are in treatment court for their drug drivers, meaning that's the driving force for their AODA. Their group settings will be separate from the group treatment for the people who have alcohol. So it's all under treatment court, but it's sort of 2 different tracks, and that is how La Crosse does it.
For clarification, is that 2 different grants?
It is not. So there's different ways to go through the grant process. We are not asking for 2 separate grants, because I think over the course of time, like we've seen now, maybe we won't want to have 20 participants in treatment court, but in 5 years ago, we're going to have a lot in alcohol court and not as many in meth. And so now we're having fewer in alcohol and we're going to have more in meth. So basically, it's going to be sliding between the two as to which is the better program. But we're still going to have an overarching an umbrella about treatment court. That's my answer. All right. The next issue, which I've been talking about now for years, is the law that was passed. We have a new constitutional amendment that came up last year, and statutory provisions where victims of crimes have the rights that they have expanded exponentially, and now most of them are constitutional, right? So we all follow the law when it's statutory, and then everyone sort of gets a little when they're constitutional rights, right? And we all know what that looks like. There are requirements. I'm editorializing in my head. The requirements are such that our current victim witness coordinator cannot manage the constitutional rights that are required of our office. She has meetings after hours. Last time I said she was up in Hillsborough a couple weeks ago after work on a Friday, managing something, a victim right issue. She's had meetings at 7 o'clock at night on Saturdays. She gets calls at night. She is fantastic. If anyone says that Andrea Fields isn't doing her job, they are absolutely mistaken. And no one would say that because everyone knows what she does. But it is absolutely impossible at this point for us to comply with the law without adding staff. And that's just the bottom line of it. So we're looking, and it's all mandatory. It's an unfunded mandate, as always, right? The state likes to do this. Hey, you're required to do this, but you all get to pay for it. Now, victim witness over the course of time, once upon a time, victims were treated as evidence, right? You gave a statement, great, you're a victim. Yeah, we don't care about you until we have trial. You get nothing, right? You're just a piece of evidence like a gun, like dope, or anything else. And that's not good. That's not appropriate. And the law changed. And when the law did change, the state took 100% of the cost of the victim witness, their salaries. They take a percentage of the cost for their computer, for the paper that we had to use, for all those kind of things. Of course, over time, the state said, we're going to pay a little less, and the counties are going to pay a little more. So I would say it was a not an unfunded mandate, but a decreasingly funded mandate. But we still get some, every year it's different as to the percentage as we get. I think as an average over the last 10 years, the county gets about $30,000, $35,000 to the county reimbursed for Andrea's salary and Andrea's work and the postage and the papers that Andrea uses. So that would continue when we had someone else. And we're having trials, and it's really been incredible, the changes there. So we're looking to get another someone else to help us just meet our requirements, because we are just not doing that. Now, I was talked to last year by Ms. Luck saying, are you going to ask for it in the budget, right? And this was last year, right? Because this all changed. This has been coming down the pike. And I said, no, we're not. I'm not asking for it, because I want to know what the law, the change in the law really does, right? The state people, the Marcy's Law advocates who have been advocating across the United States for the change in the law pretty much just said and told the voters on that little piece of paper where it says, do you believe in victims' rights? If yes, we're going to amend the Constitution. And all those folks just said, there's just going to be a little bit of change in the paperwork. We're just going to have to send out a couple different papers, tweak the language. There you go. Absolutely untrue. We all knew it was untrue when this is what was getting, this information was being provided by those advocacy groups at the time they were promoting the change in the law. So, but I didn't know that, right? I saw that coming down the pike. I knew it coming down the pike. I know everyone's tired of me talking about it 4 years in a row, but we really did want to see, right? Is this really what it's going to look like? Just a little bit of paperwork change? Absolutely not. But last year I wanted to know. So I said, no, I'm not putting in my budget last budget cycle for this year, because I want to make sure that we can't just really absorb with a little bit of pain, just really absorb what the change in the law was. And we just can't. It can't be done. It's a mandate by the state constitution, mandate by the public who said, yes, give us a constitutional amendment. That's going to cost us a lot of money, even though we don't know that it's going to cost us a lot of money. So so this year it's going to come up in my budget. You're going to hear about it. Finance is going to hear about it. Everyone's going to hear about it. But I've gone to Derek and to Clint. The first thing I said to Clint, Clint, I'm asking for more money for another person. And he says, out of levy money? And then the next sentence was, oh, it's an unfunded mandate. And I said, yes. So he had already heard about this as well. Then I went to Derek and I said, hey, how do we want to do this? I just don't want to throw a dart against the wall and say, hey, I need $100,000. I don't want to do that, right? That's not rational. It's not good for budgets, taxpayers, all those kind of things. So I talked to Derek and said, what's the best way to go about finding the correct number, or as close as I can, to put together a proposal? And he said, take the wage study, which I hold dear to my heart, and look at that. Look at the descriptions here. Everyone thinks it's funny, but it's true, right? Look at those. Look at the job descriptions. Look at the descriptions. Come up with the descriptions of what the new person would do, or new person would do X, but Andrea's position, who's a victim witness coordinator, would do more. Sort of, how are we going to break down the work in the office? And that seems reasonable. He said, do that, and then we'll send it to Detman, and Detman will say, hey, based on this, and this is the target. So I did that, and then I wanted to look at other counties to see, hey, what are other small counties doing, right? I don't want to say, hey, we need $100,000 paralegal. Is that what you guys have, right? We want to see what that looks like. So I went to another counties. I sent out a cattle call. I heard from probably 15, 20 counties about what their staffing looked like. The first thing I noted, I sort of thought this was the case. The first noteworthy thing is our office is so ridiculously understaffed that it is ridiculous, but I'm not asking for general staff. And so I'm putting together from their information, what do you have, what do they do, and where are we as far as what is appropriate to look for. So that's what I'm doing as the background to figure out what I'm going to ask for. I didn't ask last year because I wanted to find out. I'm going to be asking this year, but that's the background that I'm utilizing so that my request isn't just thrown in a dartboard and just stupid. So there we go on that. Anyone have any questions about that? You knew it was coming, right? For years, you knew it was coming.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Not surprised, right? And then the last thing I would just touch on, without putting too much specifics on it, is we have an opening for a sheriff. Sheriff's department, my department work very closely with one another, usually on policy issues, sometimes on practices, straight out practices that need to be addressed, either with a specific officer. That's usually when I come stomping down the hall and say, you got to do something about this cop. They're not doing anything illegal, nothing like that. Just they're making all our lives miserable. So I've always had a good relationship. The relationship with the administration when I started was a little clunky for a variety of reasons. This administration has been good, and I've talked to the three candidates that I know, and they don't, whoever they are. I've talked to the three candidates that I know, and I'm very comfortable that everything is not going to go to hell in a handbasket between our two departments. I'm very confident that things will be the same or not be better when we move forward. So from my perspective, I don't look at any decision with fear and trepidation. So that's all I know.
Thank you. All right. So thank you for that. Item number 9, approve monthly invoices and other sheriff department reports.
Has everybody looked at the numbers for this month? Looks like we're down a little bit on, down a decent amount on bookings. Up on average number of inmates housed. Monthly complaints are up. I would imagine that trend to continue upward with how July has started out for us. Traffic citations are down a little bit. I'm guessing that there's going to be some correlation to calls going up this year. That's why we're seeing citations going down. Our officers are more of their time is being spent on calls. Civil process is down a bit, and electronic monitoring is staying even at 6.
The traffic grant.
So yeah, we have started. Kevin's still back there. We have started a traffic grant. How are we doing on that? About halfway through?
Yeah, it's supposed to go through.
No, I can, but I don't know if he can. Dave, can you hear him talking?
We're supposed to go through the end of August.
Start talking.
What's that?
Yeah, you're good.
We're supposed to go through the end of August and they give us a little leeway if we have a little extra money left over, so we can go into probably the first couple weeks of September. Things are going well. We did a lot of deployments around the 4th of July, and it looks like things are right on track and we should be good probably at the end of August, I would think. Jennifer?
Yes.
So it's nice that we get money for traffic grants, right? We want officers out there on the road. It results in more unfunded, ungranted work for my office. Because all those tickets get prosecuted. You guys have heard this all the time. Give more warnings, right? That's what we've talked about. Is because what happens when the citations are here, yay, cops are out there, yay, not having to, county doesn't have to pay for them. They come to my office, I'm the prosecutor, and then we have to go through all the prosecution process. Of course, they don't require as many court contacts as other crimes do because they don't have the same kind of rights. But the uptick there is wonderful, but it does have a resource cost in my office. You've all heard that before as well.
Yes.
And I guess just a further comment on warnings. And we see this month after month after month. It never changes. Warnings are always 0. We do not give 0 warnings. I promise you that.
Also, right, also heard that.
We give a lot of verbal warnings. So if that number is skewed, I probably should be encouraging people to give more written warnings, but it's I can just give you a verbal warning on the side of the road, get back to doing what I was doing and stop the next person or get to the next call versus now I have to sit down and do this little bit of extra documentation.
So this is for traffic warnings issued is for the actual getting the
That's-
warning
yeah.
ticket. I
That
see.
would be the actual written warning, yeah. So it's not that we don't give warnings. I'm sure we give plenty of warnings. It just, they're not documented.
And I just want more.
So if a verbal warning were to be issued by one deputy and then 2 weeks later by another deputy pulls this person over for speeding, gives them a warning, then they don't even know that the other one talked to the other one.
And that's exactly the downside to it is that, especially with our CAD RMS software, if we were to issue a written warning, that would be logged in Spillman. So when they ran their name in Spillman on the traffic stop, it would show that Kevin gave them a warning on this date. Toby gave them a warning on this date. Well, they've gotten 2 warnings already. We should probably write a citation. That would be the added benefit to that as well. And like I said, we should probably work towards and strive towards writing more written warnings. It's just, we haven't yet.
It's time consuming.
It is. It's an extra step on what could be a very brief stop
Right.
for us and for, the person, the violator, the person we stopped. So
What's the threshold to giving a warning?
it's different with every officer.
That's a good question because I've
Yeah.
never been given a warning.
Right.
I always get a ticket every time.
That's the best answer for that question. It's different with every
Some
officer.
say 10 over, you're mine. If you're 10, under 10, you're fine. Over 10, you're mine.
Yeah.
But the 7-15 give you a warning on that.
And I do know that it's also it's also dependent on demeanor of the individual, because I always get the demeanor notes. This guy was like off his lid with law enforcement, which makes them more dangerous, quite frankly. If you can't even keep it together when you've got a cop, that's concern. But I do know it's different per agency as well. So State Patrol, never, never, ever, ever, ever will they do anything for anyone. You've probably gotten stopped by State Patrol.
Both.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, I haven't been stopped in a long time. Now I'm gonna get a ticket on the way home or something.
But I guess to further answer your question, the sheriff's department doesn't have a mandated threshold.
Mhm.
We leave it to officer
It's
discretion.
subjective.
Yeah.
It's subjective. Okay. All right.
Any question on the bills? I don't see really any big outliers on here. But I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll do the second, just to mix things up. Any further discussion on the bills? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Bills are approved. All right. So for item 9, any other reports? We're all good, right?
Yeah,
You did them all? Okay. All right, item number 10, discussion and motion to approve using the remaining Fund 75 for new wearable cameras.
So, and I believe I didn't label it with the agenda item, but in your folders, there is a quote from Motorola Solutions for WatchGuard wearable video cameras. I guess to kind of further explain on this one, I'm looking at starting to add to the fleet dash cameras. Along with that, our current wearable video fleet slowly dying on us. What I think a part of the problem is the batteries. They're a sealed unit with an internal battery that cannot be replaced. And over the course of their life now, these batteries are going bad. So I started looking into and researching a solution for not only dash cams, but replacing our aging wearable system. So I've been looking really strongly at, they were recently acquired by Motorola WatchGuard cameras. They have a nice in-car system that has a ton of features that I'm hoping someday will integrate with our CAD RMS software, now that they're purchased by Motorola Solutions. But they also have a very nice wearable camera that has a removable battery. So I kind of look into that for the future, as that might be a good solution for us. That way, if batteries start going bad, we can just get a new battery instead of getting a whole new unit. They are quite costly. That was the issue, kind of my big hurdle I've been trying to overcome with this project, as we did not budget for this or do any capital funding for this project. The quote was for $18,181. I actually reached out to Josh and Clint about this, trying to figure out what we may have left from Fund 75, and found out that we actually have a decent amount left in Fund 75, but that was not slated for this project. So what I'm going to need is permission to use part of the remaining funds of Fund 75 to fund this project.
What was it originally slated for? That we're not doing, apparently, or did we underspend on something that we
I'm
already
guessing
got?
it was a little bit underspending and a little bit not everything was used. So I have let me pull my email up quick from Josh.
I just want to make sure that we aren't spending this now on something that then a few months from now, you're gonna be like, oops, sorry, we meant to buy this and we didn't.
So I did underspend a little bit on my police radio, which has since been put back into my budget. That was one of those items that probably should have never been removed from the budget, but did get. So I underspent on that a little bit. I have 2,600, a little less than 2,600 left from that. I'm not going to touch the jail because we may actually use that in the jail. Sheriff's new equipment, we underspent in that about 15,000.
No, that's good.
Yep, and sheriff crime scene equipment, we underspent on that. We have made some equipment purchases for evidence. With that money, I don't know how much more needs we have for that money. And then this was one that I should discuss with Barb a little bit more, but we had a sheriff computer upgrades that still shows on the book, and I thought that was, part of that was for, 911. What was that? That was for squads? Okay. And I think that actually ended up coming out of the new equipment, new vehicle equipment. So that probably still is there then. So we're good on that.
You still have Fujitsu's in some squads, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna replace those as we replace those cars.
So what is the total that's left in Fund 75 for Sheriff's Department?
$40,710.92.
So you're fairly confident that if you spend this 18,000, you will still have money left to do other things that it was actually slated for as well?
Yes.
Any other questions?
I highly support this request. Lapel cams reduce.
I mean, these days, I think,
Yeah, it's
Well,
I mean, we're expected to have all this video now. It's just kind of the thing. It's not a, you know, it's not a discretionary thing anymore.
it reduces man hours in my office significantly, although it's attorney man hours rather than staff man hours, because some defendant says, I didn't do that, we didn't do that. And then the defense attorney can say, here, friend, this is what's going to go in at trial. So you look at this and then all of a sudden they think, oh yeah, I was really hammered. I don't remember that, but that's what the video says. The very first video I had was with Chief Deputy Porter, and it was a long time ago, and it was beautiful. So, so I support getting the lapel
I
cams.
think, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea for both
a lot of
the
reasons.
officers or the deputy and the citizens. So,
Right.
all right. I would entertain a motion to approve this if we're okay with it.
Move.
All right, I have a motion by Severson, second by Cosgrove. Any further discussion on this? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Did you have a question?
I'm assuming the next step is this will have to get approval from finance to
Yes.
use these funds.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yep. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Take it to the next level. All right, back to the agenda here. Item 11, approval to purchase additional squad.
So that is kind of I don't know if it's necessarily we're approving the purchase of an additional squad. I was approved to purchase 2 squads earlier in the year. We did not specify in resolution what those 2 cars would be. If I've made you aware of past meetings, one of our cars is going to be replaced by insurance. So now I'm looking to pick up a third vehicle. So we will still be purchasing only 2 cars. The one will be replaced by the insurance company. So I'm just kind of making sure we're clear on this is what I want to do moving forward. I want to order a third squad, knowing that one will be paid for by insurance.
Right, so when we approved the original 2, you're now, one of those original 2 that you went and ordered is being paid for by insurance. So you just want to, okay, I get it. Does anyone have questions on that? So do we need a motion? I mean, we already approved, well, I suppose we approved 2, but then you paid for 1 out of a different pot of money. So
Yeah.
we should actually,
So, and the other thing too that I would probably change with this, just for your Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. All right. So,
How about my third engine? It's 5.7 liter Hemi.
Tell me that. That's why I was going to go with the cheapest option.
anyone would like to make the motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Severson,
This is Dave. I'll second.
Dave will second. All right, any discussion? I mean, obviously, we're going to have a very clear explanation when this hits the board
Yeah.
floor, because there's always
So you
going
got
to.
2 trucks right now already, right?
Yes.
2 Fords, right?
Yep.
Now that you're asking for a Ram now,
Yeah.
so it'll be 3.
Mhm.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so it will have to go to finance and then to the board?
Actually, I don't believe so because I have a resolution saying I can purchase 2 cars.
Okay, just check with
Yeah.
Clint on that to make sure,
I will.
because we don't want to.
So in
Drop it.
Vernon County, their sheriff drives a pickup truck. Is that what sheriff is gonna be driving now? You said admin, would that
Probably, yeah.
be a sheriff's truck?
Are all our
We'll
trucks
leave
marked?
that up to
Are
whoever's going to be the sheriff.
Are they unmarked?
All our trucks are unmarked.
Unmarked? I thought
Yeah.
so. Thought I saw one the other day. All right. Item number 12, schedule patrol interview dates.
So this item, I guess I want to probably just have a bit of a discussion on this. I don't know that we're quite ready to set a date on our end. Do we want to set a date or do we want to just, I'll reach out to you all when I'm nearing the point to do that and we just set a special meeting date?
I think
that
that's the
time?
easiest. I think so. I mean, we can set it now, but what if you're not ready when we
Yeah,
set the date?
I
So,
mean, I know when I want to be ready by, but I don't know that I'm going to be ready by then. So
so
it's-
let's, yeah, just, you can send out an email.
okay,
I'm sure we can get 3 of us together,
all right.
hopefully. All right. Item number 13, discussion regarding MOU for possible internal candidate appointment.
Has everybody had a chance to look over? I put that in there. What it is
The ordinance?
the prior ordinance that was written when Sheriff Darrell Berglund was appointed sheriff. I think, and to speak for the other 2 candidates in the room, I think we all would like some sort of safeguard because we have such a short turnaround for the next election to basically get our feet on the ground and running as sheriff.
So essentially, this is saying that if you don't remain sheriff after the election, that you want to have a job.
Yes.
You want to have a job waiting for you,
Yeah. So,
right? I mean, I don't see
Yeah.
any, I mean,
Yeah.
as long as you guys are all okay with it, I don't see why we would care, right?
I think it
Yeah.
was the same way with Berkland. There was an ordinance once
Yep.
upon a time, because someone shouldn't basically get dinged for wanting a
ordinance
different job.
96-2, I think it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm looking at it right here, yeah.
And
So-
and
It does
we-
specify road patrol lieutenant, doesn't it say?
so,
We
and that's
need
the
to
thing.
change the language.
It would be worded differently depending on which one of us got it. For me, it would probably be just slightly more complicated because my current position is an appointed position.
Right.
So,
You could go back to whatever you were before you were appointed.
unless whoever chose me to
Be a
be their chief
chief-
deputy.
right.
Yep.
I think you just have it right down as just a
A generic, they get to go back
deputy.
to whatever
Yeah,
their,
it's deputy
whatever
sheriff. I
their.
don't think you
Yeah.
need to specify road patrol.
Yeah. And
Just-
so
Because
Daryl's,
you're an investigator, right? You're not road patrol. Yeah, so I would say it should just state whatever
Investigator.
position title they had previously.
Student from the sheriff.
Right, so the new sheriff though can't ding Toby if they don't like Toby. I love Toby, but the new sheriff can't get rid of him. Make his life miserable, but can't just move him around.
I mean, couldn't we just simply say that you would resume
Yeah.
the title position you were in prior to taking the,
and then we can
the
have it,
appointments.
we can have it sunset at the start of the term of the next sheriff.
Why?
Well, it's,
We're gonna come back.
well, so I guess the reason I say that is Daryl's actually gave him protection past his first term. So because that was back in the days of 2-year
Yeah.
terms. So it finished his term
Yeah.
and got him past the next term.
4 years, okay.
So it gave him 3 years of protection, where I think if one of us could get into a second term, our first full term, that's probably all the
then
protection.
it makes sense.
we get.
Okay,
I support it.
I mean, I think it makes sense. we don't want to lose any of you, so.
Yeah.
Why would we, yeah. So we would need to have this reworded, but let's wait and see what happens, I guess.
Yeah,
And then we'll
so-
have this rewritten to probably just change the language about a road patrol lieutenant.
Yeah,
And change, actually, all you could do is just change it to anyone who vacates a position, at the Richland County Sheriff's Department will be able to return to that position.
yeah.
Minus chief deputy, because it's not the same.
Yeah.
Right, because that's
mean,
appointed by the sheriff.
That would just kind of fall into when the new sheriff took over, either I'm gonna be their chief deputy or I'm not, in which case, if I'm on a leave of absence from the position of chief deputy, then I would return to my prior position before I was chief deputy.
Right. Okay, so I think, do you guys want this in place before this all happens or when?
So I think, historically, I don't know if it
Did
is.
it
out
happen
right now.
after he was appointed?
This was the month he was appointed, because he was appointed in the beginning of February of that year. And this was signed, I believe, on the 20th.
So they
February
did
20th.
probably do it before it happened?
But the real issue is, we all know that this is probably gonna be passed, and the real issue is, and these three might not be anyone picked, who knows who else
Well,
is
that's
in, who
true.
else? So, so it really has to be done before the election, right? Someone gets the job, someone's pissed, someone runs against this person in the first election, and then the person who, put his neck out to be, sheriff can't be. So it really has to just be done before the
Before that
next
point.
election, although I think it would make everyone feel more comfortable if it was.
Well, I was just trying to, do we have to have this all figured out right now and vote on it right now? Or should we get it
No,
worded the way
and
we
I-
want it and then bring
I
it back
guess-
next month?
I was looking more for discussion to kind of get thoughts on it, make you guys aware
Yeah,
that
no, I
I
think
think
it
this
makes
is something
sense.
we all are all
Mm.
interested in as internal candidates.
Yeah.
And
Should find out how the fire department,
what?
the Richland Center Fire Department, how that works over there. So the fire chief is an appointed position by the fire board. And he gets state retirement and funding goes in that. If the fire chief was to resign or to retire, he would have to vacate the fire chief's position. But if he were to resign as fire chief and go as firefighter, then he's able to retire with state benefits and still stay in the fire department. But if he retires without resigning as fire chief, he's not able to be on the fire department
That seems really.
because of the state benefits thing.
Right.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't have to get elected by
Correct.
the citizenry.
Have you talked to Clint about this at all? Run it past him?
I don't know if I've talked with Clint about it. I maybe have mentioned it to him in passing, but
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that this is a good idea and have no problems with it. It's just a matter of figuring out the timing and the wording.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it basically, it's very similar to the protection I have as chief deputy. We're just now extending it to sheriff.
right,
So if somebody becomes sheriff and no longer wants me as their chief deputy, I just return to sergeant. And
was
there's,
do we have an MOU that says that or what?
it's in
Is-
the
oh, it's
sheriff's
in the
ordinance.
ordinance, the regular ordinance? Okay.
It's also in state law.
That makes
so-
sense because, yeah,
Wasn't there a former deputy before that ran for sheriff that was still employed?
I think we've had a couple of them over the years. Yeah. Yep.
So
okay. So actually, maybe we're supposed to talk to Corporation Counsel about the wording of this ordinance.
Yeah,
Maybe that's let Clint know
Yeah.
and then talk to and then bring it back and we'll push it through.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
The process for appointments is very, very long. To get a circuit court judge, it took over 6 months. So I also don't think this is going to be happening tomorrow. Applications were due today. There's not going to be a new sheriff.
Yeah, they have until 5 p.m. today or something. Yeah. Okay. Radio tower project updates, item number 14.
I mean, I think most of us here probably know where we're at with the radio project.
Right, I
It's-
just want to make sure, did we get a resolution? Because we do have to have a resolution for phase 2. We did not, we only
all
approved phase
drafted to
1.
the county board.
Okay,
So
so
we-
it's going to go before the board.
Let me phrase it this way. I sent it to Clinton and asked him to please send it to our clerk.
Okay. Maybe. Does someone want to just follow up with that and make sure? So we
I'll
don't
double
have a-
check.
I'll do it as we speak.
Okay,
Okay. Yep, so, we are going on to phase 2, or we will hopefully be going on with the approval of the county board to be going on to phase 2 of the radio tower project.
Is
Which-
someone going to be prepared to talk about it because, I mean, they're going to probably want to know what they said in phase 1.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
is
He
And
was
numbers.
we could probably even get Mike,
an abbreviated, sorry. Mike said he would present an abbreviated presentation if we want it.
I mean, really what people want to know is what's the dollars?
yeah,
And they're all really big.
yes, they are.
Yeah,
Even the lowest, yeah, anyway.
we need to maybe schedule a special meeting or put on the next agenda before we move to phase 2 completely about choosing where we're at with those levels.
Like which plan we think we might be shooting for. Yeah,
Yes,
I can't even wrap my head around it, but okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I know what I want.
Of
I also know what
course.
I also know what I want to ask for.
Of
So
course, of course.
what I want and what I'm probably going to ask for are two different things, but yeah.
Come on, Clay, you don't, they don't appoint you sheriff. Kidding, John.
It's, yeah. I mean, obviously it's a borrowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no way it's anything but a borrowing conversation. All right, so anything else on radio tower project? Okay, so item number 15, mapping, radio system, and squad updates.
I don't have anything on mapping. However, with the state budget being approved, I'm going to be looking to see what might be coming down for funding for upgrading mapping for the 911 system. So with Lynn and there may be some funding or some grant money that comes available for the mapping side of 911 that we can use to help improve our mapping system.
Have we been having any problems with the 911 console or anything lately?
Not with the 911, well, Barb, any problems with the 911 console? We have been having some issues, not necessarily with the council, but
Yeah, right?
yeah, yeah.
Well, we have to talk about it because, I
Yeah.
mean, that's part of why we need to borrow the money.
Right now, there's been 2 video problems with it. We replaced a monitor. But the council itself has been dispatching okay,
Yes.
for the moment. Did you want to share the invite we got? We did get an invite to go look at some options. They're setting up a new one in Sun Prairie.
Yep. Baycom invited us to look at a new dispatch system, dispatch console that they're setting up, and they have in their, basically they're just setting it up in their shop, mocking it up in their shop, and
Cool.
have
Are
invited
you going
us
to
to
take
come look
advantage of
at it.
that then?
I believe so, yeah.
We just have to pick a date.
Okay.
Because I'm guessing, and we've discussed this in past meetings, our hand's probably going to get forced on the dispatch console, that we're going to have to replace that probably before the radio system's replaced. So,
And-
what was that? Well, yeah, well, I mean, the jail, so far, they're letting us get by with what we have. I think, part of that being is just we are grandfathered in, the jail's old enough that, but we're running into issues with, things are failing in the jail too, which is probably not quite at the rate that they're failing with the radio system. So, but yeah, so check out this new dispatch console setup in hopes that it may be something we're interested in, and we can get ahead of time and have it integrate well with what we'll be getting for a new radio system. Squad updates, I'm still waiting on my new squads. So we're down a car currently. Luckily, we have spares, but we're down a car currently, and so the insurance replacement hasn't arrived yet, and the other car that we're purchasing hasn't arrived yet.
So I have a question on the squad. So I'm looking at the mileage here. And we have, and the 3 new ones that we're getting this year are not on this list yet, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I guess my question is why are we asking for 3 more for 2022? I think 2 would still keep us on a good, just, as far as looking at high mileage vehicles left, I mean, we're not going to have high mileage vehicles left
Well,
that you So,
I guess to have a discussion on that, I want you to look at the squads we purchased last year. Two of which are already over 20,000 miles. So we kind of, in our head, estimated like 12 to 15,000 miles a year on cars. These cars have not been in service a full year yet. So we undershot our estimates pretty well on that. So I think, although we have take-home cars, we're going to get more life and longevity out of these. We're probably, that 5 to 6 year mark, we're going to be looking at replacing them. I think 3 cars a year is a good number. We can maybe swallow 2 cars a year once every 5 years, maybe. But I think 3 cars a year is going to be what we're going to need to shoot for on this.
okay. Always a fun conversation when it gets to the board.
Yes.
I mean, numbers, it definitely, it used to be half red. So we're making progress, and I don't want to go backwards and not keep making, and get into a situation where all of a sudden we have to buy 6 cars in a year because we've been putting it off. But for whatever reason, 2 seems easier to swallow than 3.
And maybe as the years go, we can adjust that a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing to note on that, those vehicles are all patrol vehicles, and so they're being driven by deputies. Admin, Toby as an investigator, we don't put as many miles on our cars,
Right.
and we can maybe stretch them out longer. But the general patrol staff, our deputies, they're handling the bulk of the call volume. They're driving a lot, they're running a lot, and they're going to
Right.
put a lot of miles on.
All right. Anything else on agenda item?
Nothing else.
All right, future agenda items. I got a call from, and Kevin, maybe you can help me. The group that's looking at drug prevention, Partners in Prevention Coalition, and they would like to just come and talk to us about what they do, and maybe brainstorm some ideas of how we might work with them in some way. So I'm going to put them on the agenda for next month, just FYI.
Okay.
So that's the only agenda item I have. Does anyone else have a future agenda item that we need to talk about? Dave? No? Okay. All right, that brings us to item number 17, adjournment.
For adjournment.
Motion by Severson. I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Oh, you know what? Just saying we should do a resolution for retirement of Sheriff Bindle as well.